The other day, I was at a grocery store or food store and doing a little bit of shopping, and I was standing in this shopping aisle, and I heard a voice to my left, but behind me, she said in German, she said, "Sie sind größer als ich." That that means you're bigger than me. And I turned around and I was a really short lady standing there, and I was kind of stunned for a couple of seconds. I didn't know how to respond to that. Somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, you're fatter than me." Or, "Hey, you're bigger than me." In English, it's just funny. You're you're at a food store, and maybe you're at Walmart food store, and somebody comes behind you and says, "Hey, you're fatter than me." That's just hilarious. And so, of course, if you're really ultra sensitive, you'll probably think, "Oh, what an insult. How dare you?" Excuse me. Shoot. The sentence, "Sie sind größer als ich," technically in English, it means you are bigger than me, or gross means big in English, but in German, it also means tall. Yeah, you're taller than me is what she really said. But since German is not my first language, and I, when I went to Volkshochschule, which is a place where you can learn German, it's like a community school. You can learn all kinds of things there, cooking and different languages and so forth. And usually, most people, when they move to Germany, they go to a language school, and these Volkshochschule, they have the lower priced language courses. So I went to one when I first moved to Germany. And when we learned the word gross and klein, and for us people who speak English, klein is small, gross is the opposite, which is big. Okay, so when we are learning the word gross, we are learning it as big. And so when you hear the word grosser, it's bigger. Yeah. So when she said, "Sie sind größer als ich," from my classes, to me it translated to, "You're bigger than me." Well, thank you. I didn't know that. Now I know. Shoot. But then you have to, when you're dealing with different languages, you have to consider that maybe what you learned was only one of several definitions. Yeah. And that's how it was for me. And luckily, though, I've lived here long enough to know that when somebody is talking about somebody being tall, they use the word gross. Okay. So usually it could mean tall or big. Okay. So, and it's the funny way that I learned about this, though, was actually something that happened on British TV in London. They have this same talent shows that you see all over the world. America's Got Talent. And then, of course, England, it's Britain's Got Talent. Yeah. And one time, several years ago, one of their guest judges on the Britain's Got Talent show, one of their guest judges was from Germany, a very famous ice skater by the name of Katharina Witt. some of you who are older, you know who that is. Yeah, she was fantastic. She was representing the former East Germany, and I think she won a gold medal. I'm not too sure. Anyway, she's very famous still in Europe, and she was an invited celebrity guest judge to be on the Britain's Got Talent show. And she speaks English good. The performers, they're all British that are vying for this contest, this competition. And this was a British girl. I think she was dancing or something that has to do with dancing anyway. And and you know how those shows go, that after they make their performance, the judges, they give their opinion, and then they press this button that says, you know, they either approve of them, so they go to the next level of competition, or they reject them. Yeah. So it got to this Katarina Witt part, and she was thinking, you could see in her mind, she's getting her words ready, yeah, to say to this lady, to talk to this lady and evaluate her performance. And so she said, you were really a good dancer. Those were very exciting and interesting dance moves that you did. But there's one move that was probably not meant for you because you're too big, she said. Well, the British dancer, she started to cry. And the people were booing and, you know, and so forth. And this lady came off the stage, and she interpreted big to mean fat. Do you see what's happening here? Yeah? You have a German lady that in her mind, she's using the word gross. And normally when Germans say gross, I should say a lot of times when Germans say gross, it means tall. It means big too, okay? But when Germans are learning to speak English, they pick up the word big along the way. So when a German says, you are really big, they don't mean you're fat. They mean you're tall, okay? That's what they're referring to. Or maybe you are just bigger, yeah? But they don't mean it in a bad way, okay? It's not an insult. It's just matter of fact. You know, in English, we do the same thing too with other words, okay? And they could be misunderstood by people who speak English as a second language. So it goes both ways, okay? Anyway, this British contestant, she was crying and she went off the stage, and the guy with the microphone back there was saying, you know, hey, what's wrong? And she said, I can't believe on national TV she said I was fat. And when I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is too funny. It's getting funnier by the moment, and and it's all because people are, you know, they're talking to each other, but they're coming from different languages. They're coming from different cultures, and they're using the word that they have learned to mean something, but they don't realize it could mean something else. Do you see what I mean? It goes both ways. Katarina Witt, she said, yeah, but you're too big for that one dance move. She didn't mean that in a bad way. Yeah? And she used the word big when really she meant tall. Because when you're German and when you say, you know, something is gross, among them, they're talking about how tall something is a lot of times. Of course, like I said, it also means big, but a lot of times it also refers to how tall something is. Yeah? Oh, that guy he's 2 meters gross. Yeah, he's two meters tall. Do you see what I mean? They use it like that a lot. And when they're learning to speak English, the English word they learned is big, and they think this means tall because maybe they don't know the word tall. Do you see what I mean? So they take the English translation and they use that, but maybe they don't understand that translation enough. But this is all they know, okay, concerning the translation. So Katerina Witt, she didn't really insult this lady at all. She was trying to say, you're really a good dancer, but in this one move, yeah, you're kind of tall for it. And maybe that's why it didn't come off so well, because she made a mistake. Yeah, the dancer, she almost fell. Katerina Witt was telling the truth. The reason why was because the lady was just really tall. And for a tall person to make that kind of move, they're probably going to fall. Okay? So that's all she was saying. She did not mean that in a negative way. She did not mean that as an insult or anything. She just was expressing something using the knowledge that she has. And people who speak English, you do the same thing too. Yeah, when you're talking to people who are from different parts of the world and you say something, you mean it in a friendly way, but they might mean it as an insult. In English, people from America, people from England, people from Canada, Australia, anywhere people speak English, you don't realize that sometimes when you are talking to somebody who English is their second language, sometimes you'll say things that they will interpret as an insult too. And you don't realize it. And then they walk away all mad and you're saying, what did I do? All I said was this. But they interpret it as something else. Do you see what I mean? You might both understand English, but even though you still speak the same language, there can still be misunderstandings. And that's because we don't really listen enough. Listening means you really take in what that person is saying, and you have to consider lots of variables. Like, for example, with this Katerina Witt, number one, she's German. German is her first language. Okay? And English, I don't know how many languages she speaks, but I'll just say for this example that English was her second language. And even though she speaks English pretty good, some of the words may not be fully understood by herself. And so when you are talking to somebody, if you're speaking English, that's your first language, and you are talking to somebody who English is their second language, they might say something that they think is okay. But when you hear it, you're like, geez, those Germans, they're really blunt. I've heard that even before I moved to Germany, yeah? Before I even knew any Germans, I heard that statement. This is a stereotype, okay? This is a stereotype, and this is one thing that will really get us into trouble, because when we listen, we have to take a lot of things into consideration, and sometimes we don't. Let's say you go to Spain and you find somebody who speaks English. Let's say you're an American, you're on holiday, or as in America, they say you're on vacation and you're visiting Spain and you want to say, I'm looking for some tacos. I don't even think tacos come from Spain. But because when you go to Mexican restaurants and people are speaking Spanish and you think, okay, these people are Mexican. They are serving tacos and they speak Spanish. So you might think, anywhere I go where they speak Spanish, they must eat tacos. So you go to Spain and you're looking around and going, hey, where's the Taco John's at anyway? You're right off the res, you know. Hey, where's the Taco John's at anyway? Shoot. It's just ridiculous. But listening, like I said, it's not just hearing. Listening is really focusing in on the message. And focusing in on the message, you have to think of all the variables that are involved. If you're speaking to somebody who speaks English as their first language and your first language is English, you can really understand each other really good if you really, really listen to each other because English was your first language for both of you. There might be some differences, like, for example, if you're speaking to somebody from England, for example, English is their first language. Of course, it's called English. Yeah. So if you speak to somebody from England, you might have a little misunderstanding there because you're dealing with a different culture. Okay. So an American and a British person could still have a misunderstanding because even though English is the common language, their cultures have differences. So when you're talking to somebody who's from a different culture, you really have to consider that maybe something they say might be culturally appropriate for them, but for your culture, it's a different thing. Maybe it's special to them, but in America, it doesn't mean anything. I just had an example here, holiday. In British English, when they say they're going on vacation, they say, yeah, we're going on holiday. And in America, they say, we're going on vacation. When I first moved to Germany, a lot of Germans who learn to speak English, they learn to speak British English. So when they say to me they're going on vacation to say Denmark, they'll say, yeah, David, we're going on holiday to Denmark. And when I first heard that, I was like, what holiday is in Denmark? Because for Americans, holiday is like Christmas, Easter, yeah, National Fry Bread Day, International Tchanicha Day. Look, somebody said. uh, but yeah, like I said, for me, being an American, holiday it's a day of something, Easter or whatever. For Americans, when you hear the word holiday, that's what you think. But British people, when they say holiday, it includes that, but it also means going on vacation. Yeah, they don't use the word vacation, they say holiday. So you see, British person speaks English, I speak English, and yet we had a funny misunderstanding. Or a German person who learned to speak British English. We're talking, and then there's a funny little misunderstanding that happens there because you're dealing with different cultures. So when you're talking to somebody who is not from the same culture as you, speaking a common language is it's good, but it's not enough. I mean, it is better than nothing. Like say if I walk down the street and if I run into somebody who can speak English, it's good. We can talk. Of course, I can speak a little German too, but there still could be misunderstandings. Do you see what I mean? Even though we might speak the same language, there could still be misunderstandings because of the different cultures. That really is a big factor. So when we are communicating, it also includes listening. It's not just the talking. Yeah, it's the listening, the really actively listening. Most of us don't know how to do that. We just hear somebody standing in front of us and we're sitting there knitting a sweater. No, we're sitting there doing something simple. Maybe we're peeling potatoes. Maybe we are reading something or whatever. And somebody comes in front of us and says, yeah, I was going ice skating and here spaceship landed. And so a guy got out and said, hey, what's up? And then you're sitting there going, uh-huh, that's nice. We're hearing them, but we're not really listening. Now, this is a really extreme example, okay? But it still has the same effect that I'm trying to get across here. The point I'm trying to make is that listening means to really sit there and tune in. Imagine there's radar dishes in each of your ears, and they turn to the person that's talking to you and really honing in on that person's mouth and looking at the body language and everything like that. So you're really doing a little bit extra effort here in listening to that person and hearing what they're really saying. But it includes other things too that we have to do, that we have to learn also. Okay, maybe that person is going through a difficult time, or maybe that person is really happy, or we have to consider the emotion as well when we are listening to somebody. Okay, we have to really take that into consideration. And then when we're dealing with somebody from a different culture, we have to really look into that too. So, like I said, when I was in this grocery store, this food store, and this lady said in German to me, I'll just say it in English, that she said, "Hey, you're bigger than me." I have to really listen, and I have to think. Yeah, in 1 or 2 seconds, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." When Germans say grosser, they mean taller. Yeah, so so then I was like, "Ah yeah," and then she said, "Could you get this thing for me?" That was a chocolate that was way up high, and she couldn't reach it. So I said, "Yeah, no problem." Yeah, so I reached up and I gave it to her, and she was really thankful for that and smiled at me and went on her merry way. but but the way it started, yeah. Sie sind größer als ich. And I'm like, huh? What do you mean I'm bigger than you? How dare you? Well, I never. Hey, you're fatter than me. Shoot. But to me, I saw this little scene as really funny. Yeah. Excuse me. I wasn't like that British person who really got upset and started crying and went off stage. How dare she call me fat? I took it as funny because I understood, yeah? I understood that sometimes when Germans say grosser, they mean taller. And I have to look at the situation. We are in a food store. And when I turn to the person who just said this, I notice, she's a small lady. And when I hear the word grosser, that I'm taller, okay, so that means she's probably going to ask me to reach for something that she can't reach, that's hot on a high shelf. And then she said, "Can you get that for me, the one in the red?" And I said, "Yeah." I understood everything. Yeah, she said all of that in German. And then I said, "Yeah, kein problem." So I got it for her, and danke schön. She said she was really nice about it. It was a really nice interaction, but you had to laugh afterwards. Hey, you're fatter than me. Gee, thanks. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, heck. So when we communicate, we have to actively listen. We have to tune in to what they are saying. I am in Germany. This was a German person. The language spoken in this country is German. So I have to understand that. And I do. And I want to when I don't understand things. I ask people to explain it to me a little bit better because I want to understand what they're saying. But this word I knew when she said, "Sie sind größer als ich." And I had to laugh. It took me by surprise for a couple of seconds. Hey, what do you mean I'm bigger than you? Because she was really short and small, yeah? I could have said, "Hey, you're littler than me." Then she probably would have been, "Huh? What? This guy's nuts." So I didn't say that. Yeah. Do you see the culture? You have to consider the culture. So I considered the culture and the situation and the location. Yeah. We're in a food store. The small lady just told me I was bigger than her, but also that could mean taller than her, which means she probably needs help to get something that she cannot reach. That idea kicked into my head really fast because this has happened to me a lot in shopping centers. That little people will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, could you help me with that thing? I want that one right there and I can't get it." So I say, "Okay," and I reach up and get it for them. I have a lot of experience in that. Sometimes it's really a blessing to be big. I'm just kidding. It's everything. Everybody is a blessing. So I'm just teasing here, teasing myself. Okay, so in this situation, part of my listening was to realize that when Germans say gross, they mean also tall. And so she was saying I was taller than her. I'm in a grocery store. This is a small lady. She's short. So when she says that, that's telling me she probably needs something that she cannot reach. And since I am tall and I can reach it, she's going to ask me to get something for her. And sure enough, her second sentence was, "Could you get me this certain chocolate in the red shiny wrapper?" So I said, "Yeah." So I grabbed it for her, and it was a very nice interaction. She smiled and said thank you, and like I said, she went on her merry way. Yeah, it was a very nice interaction. But see, I listened. I really listened. That means looking at the situation. It also means looking at the language, that we have to see what do they mean. We have to know how that culture defines that word. When a German says gross, yes, they mean big, but they also mean tall. When Americans or non-Germans come to Germany and learn how to speak German, when they look in the language books, in the dictionary, and they look up the word gross, it says big. So Americans or other people learn that gross means big, and they think that's all it means. And you see, that's going to cause a problem if we don't learn that it can also mean tall. Do you see what I'm saying? So listening also means to be aware that the person who's speaking to you may use a word that you know, but they might know that word in a different way. And we have to be aware of that. We have to think that. So if we hear them say this word and it kind of puts us off a little bit, we have to pause and take a deep breath and ask that person, "What do you mean?" And then we will get our explanation. But if we just say, "Oh, how dare you? How dare you say I'm fat?" and then walk off the stage like this British lady, then we didn't listen. So this British lady did not listen. She did not actively listen to the celebrity judge, this German lady, Katharina Witt. She didn't actually listen to her. She didn't take into consideration that, hey, this German lady, her second language is English. When she says the word big, she might mean something else. She might mean tall. This British lady didn't even consider that. Instead, she was too sensitive and cried because she thought, well, how dare this German call me fat? And she didn't. She didn't even say fat. She said big. It's the British lady that interpreted big to mean fat. Do you see what I'm saying? Listening really includes in-depth checking it out. This British lady knew that Katharina Witt is German, that most likely her English, even if it's really good, she could still use words that may not be entirely the correct one. But she doesn't say it with intention to harm. She didn't say it as an insult. And her voice was really nice. when she was congratulating her on her performance. Hey, you did really good. She was smiling at her. It was really amazing, those moves. But that one move where you almost fell, it might be because you're too big for that one move. And the British lady, she only focused in on that one thing. She totally threw out all the nice things that Katerina Witt said. She said a lot of nice things about this lady's performance, and this lady chose to throw that out and focus only on what she considered was a negative comment. We all do this. We're all guilty of this. Even when we're talking to somebody who speaks the same language as we are, and it's our first language, we misunderstand people. And maybe it's because there's something going on inside of us. Because in the Lakota Star Knowledge, there is this concept that reality begins within. That's the first basic concept. And it means that how you communicate reflects what's going on inside of you. So it's not just what you say or how you say it. It's also how you listen. How do you interpret what other people are saying? If you're doing this in an unhealthy way, or you're not really listening, this means something is wrong inside of you. That something is a little bit out of whack. Something is imbalanced in you. If you cannot actively listen to another person, you're going to end up misunderstanding them, and you're going to say that that person insulted you when maybe they didn't. It's you who misunderstood it. You misread the information because there's something happening inside of you that's causing you to not be clear. Because if you're clear, you will consider the fact that even though it sounded like an insult, that maybe it really wasn't. So you ask that person, what do you mean? That's all you have to say. One question. What do you mean? Could you explain that more? That's just one question, one statement. It's all you have to say. Just a few seconds. You just take a few seconds time to ask that question. What do you mean? And then they can explain it more. And then you're like, okay. Whew, for a minute there, I thought you said I was an asshole. But I think you understand what I'm saying here. We are all connected to each other. Everything inside of us is connected to each other. We have a universe inside of us. We have a Teoshpaye inside of us, and that's always communicating to each other. Yeah, our heart is going boom, 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 and our stomach is going, feed me tacos, feed me fried bread, hey, hey, oh. And our toes are dancing in time. Yeah? See, it's all communicating to each other. It's designed that way. We are designed that way, which means we are also designed to communicate with each other because we are connected to each other. Because everything inside of us is connected to each other, this also means we are connected to each other out around us. Everything, animals, nature, plants, trees, the sky, the clouds, the water, rocks, everything. We're all connected. So we have to communicate to each other, which means we have to do this in a healthy way. That when we do this in a healthy way, lots of interesting things can result from that. Lots of blessings can result from that. So to do this, we have to be clear. That's why we try to do our best to take care of ourselves. We were designed to communicate. That includes We have to learn how to listen to the other person, to listen to each other, so that we can really, truly love one another. That's the way it is. That's the truth. To learn more about Lakota spirituality, I have written a book called Wichocha Otechike. This book also includes Lakota Star Knowledge information. All the videos that I make, which are about Lakota spirituality, Lakota Star Knowledge, and cultural information, are based on this book. This book costs 99 American dollars, and this price includes the shipping cost as well as a tracking number. And to learn more about Lakota language, I have written a Lakota language book called Chante Etan Owoglake, Speaking from the Heart. And all my Lakota language videos are based on this book. This book cost 119 American dollars, and this price includes the shipping cost as well as a tracking number. I also teach online, and I give spiritual consultations as well. The price for these sessions are 35 American dollars an hour. If you are interested in any of my services and products, you can send payment via PayPal to my email address, which is hehaka7@yahoo.com. That's HEHAKA, the number 7@yahoo.com. And also include your shipping address and your email address when you send your payment. Lila Pilamayelo, thank you very much.
Mahbiata hetanwahi, namakha okhlate hetanwahi, malakhota cha ohini waniktelo, ho hechetuelo.